Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to this week's episode of the weekly HOScale newsletter recaps for July 7th, 2025. If you're new to this series, this is where we take a look at a variety of newsletters and updates in the HOScale community, talk about new product announcements, any sort of updates, really anything in the community that's pretty interesting. As always, before we get into it, do me a favor and subscribe if you're new, or if you find yourself coming back anyways. Helps me to grow the channel and make a few dollars, so really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, or just want to help out the algorithm. Share this with a friend if you think it might be useful, and drop me a comment if you're excited for anything we talk about here today, or if you have any new additions to your layout. Just love chatting with you guys. But let's go ahead and get started this week with Rapido. And to start us off, a couple holidays this past weekend. Hope everyone had a nice time. Here's a little bit of table of contents here we'll talk about in Rapido's newsletter. Like they say, it is huge. It's one of the longer ones, of course, but we'll get through it fairly quickly. EP5 here from a previous release, looking great, as well as the F40 PHM-2 here. Absolutely love those models. Just got a few spare parts actually in from Rapido today that I'll be able to go ahead and fix up a couple of my models real quickly. Here is their first samples of the Southern Pacific Dome Lounge in the actual shops where those were built. Rapido also put out a cool video with Jason in their new UK office layout. We'll check that out. Pretty funny video there. And also for Canada Day, talking about their new models in the Canadian railroads that are coming out soon, recently announced. There's all the names of them down below. If you're interested, if you missed that video, absolutely check that out as well. And moving on to the single July order deadline here on July 15th. We'll move through this very quickly because it is the Nscale Greenbryer Reefers. HOScale one's still on their way. They do say it's not the CLRVs cars, which they are different. But just a reminder of the schemes, they're doing the exact same ones in HOScale. So just some of the details, very similar levels of detail on the HOScale models. We have seen these before, just to give you a quick overview. Reminder of some of the details here, specific to Nscale, but very similar. Reminder, you can order these as single cars because the cryotrans and lineage schemes have just the specific name on the side of the doors, which I think is really cool, which is what I personally did. So I'm excited to see those as well. Or you can get them in 3 or 6 packs. A special road name for the Procore GP20s is now in stock, a Railroad of Lies scheme, a very common favorite recently. Here's how that's looking. There's some of the details as well as another product shot here of the side of the car. I think it looks really cool. Railroad of Lies has been very popular with their recent releases. I personally have my first ones on pre-order with the new run of Auto Floods, so I'm excited to see those eventually as well. And one final special model shout out. The FA1s, Spokane, Portland, and Seattle's Railway Historical Society will be doing a special run of number 857 with its very unique paint scheme here. As part of the purchase here, you will get a discount if you're part of the Historical Society already, and you will also receive a 1-year membership as part of the price, which is pretty cool as well. So I would definitely recommend checking them out. Moving on, we do have some new announcements for July. A quick little preview here. Nice video on them. But first up, the Montreal Locomotive Works S-13s and RS-23s. Check these out. Here's some of the paint schemes here. You can see some of the detail variations already. And some prototype shots here with their balloon top coaches that they're also coming out with as well if you missed that. Here's some more prototype details, as well as more render shots. Here's some CP rail schemes in 2 different paint schemes you can see called out. And some nice lash ups here. The railroads typically put a bunch of these all together for smaller jobs, just combining the horsepower. And some more history if you're interested. Just move on through. Of course, the very defining feature of these models, look at that back cab glass, very thin wall that Rapido's got as well, and those 2 different window arrangements on the left and right sides. Minnesota Commercial also had one of these. And they also took a quick trip over to Waterloo Central. We'll talk about that paint scheme in just a second as well. But there's a video out there as well, and a masterclass that they published. If you're interested in more of those prototype details, here's a list of all the features on these models. course, with the capacitors already, very nice. Here's the schemes for the S-13s, bunch of BC rail and then CN. And a painted unlettered model at the bottom. And now the RS-23s, pretty much Canadian Pacific. So you can see some of those paint scheme variations for CP, as well as some of the short line railroads and patch jobs. We do also have two of their industrial switchers, as they call them, the industrial yellow and industrial red. Fairly easy to go ahead and put your own short line details or freelance railroad details on that model. And Otter Valley Railroad will be doing a special run of these for the Waterloo Central and Ontario Southland. So here are those versions. You will have to order directly through OVR to get those models. But that's very exciting, very unique model that I wasn't expecting to be announced. And a quick note here from Jason, they will be making these no matter what the orders are, so get your orders in if you're interested in them. This sounds to me like a model that they'll probably only make once or make many, many years in the future for a second run. So I would definitely recommend, if you want some of these models, go ahead and get them now. And moving on to the second HO scale announcement, the CLRVs, the Canadian Light Rail Vehicles, well loved around the Toronto area in particular. This model does have a conditional pre-order deadline of September 15th, so it's a little ways off, but that does secure you a 5% early bird discount if you do order directly from Rapido. So weigh that in your hands if you're looking to order from a hobby shop or not. See if that's worth it to go ahead and get directly from Rapido. But get your pre-orders in if you're interested in this model so that they do make them. Here are the Toronto versions up top. It's a pretty cool feature that the trolley poles also collect power. So if you do have some catenaries on your layout, that should do the trick. They will have marker lights and turn signals, only in DCC of course. There's the final days scheme. There's one of these in preservation as well that I believe they did take some models. Here's a quick diagram of the short turn indicator flag that will be operational to go ahead and raise and lower that. Here's all the features of the CLRVs. These do have a very tight minimum radius, which kind of makes sense because of the city nature of these models. So 7.5 inches, may be tighter, but they haven't tested. I don't personally know of any track tighter than that, but be my guest, then go ahead and give it a shot. Here's all the paint schemes of these models here. Got a couple back in the US versions with Boston and Buffalo as well down below. And they do have a couple one-off schemes as well. The Happy Birthday Ontario, Toronto, and a second Ontario. You go ahead and put your pre-orders in soon. They'll go ahead and release these to tooling. Otherwise, they'll wait around until around September or so. But go ahead and get your pre-orders in if you're interested in this one as well. And a quick reminder, just as you see these buttons on screen for the CLRV in the USA and CLRV everywhere else, they do have a separate US website and separate Canada international website. You can switch between the two at the top of the web page when you're on that site. Just a heads up, that is two different order locations depending on your location if you're confused about that. Moving on though, a piece of rolling stock in HO scale, the Hallebertton pneumatic rail cars, well loved for their cement loads as well. This is another model with a conditional announcement, same early bird discount, 5% if you order by October 15th. So an extra month on top of the CLRV deadlines. This is another model that they're ready to release for tooling, but just want to see the interest first. Here's some of the different variations. Look at the logos in particular that differentiate them. Here's a shot of the underbody, very nice piping details. These cars were started at the Pullman Standard Company for the flat car type model, and then the special tanks were installed at Hallebertton. These are pretty special cars as well, or specialized rather. Here's a quick list of the features here. And the logos are divided up into the different eras of these cars. So here's a quick shot and comparison of the different eras offered. And at the very bottom, a painted unlettered model as well. Once again, pre-order deadline October 15th, conditional order. Go ahead and order them up if you're interested. And some love to our Nscalers. The CTA 2600 series, the Bud L cars, are coming in Nscale as well. Of course, we talked about them in HO scale. Quick reminder, Nscale, also conditional September 15th, same 5% early bird discount. The only difference that I've seen between these cars and the HO scale cars is that the Nscale models are offered as a 4-car set with 1 powered and 3 unpowered cars, which is a pretty neat option to have. They're not doing that in HO. Everything is a powered and unpowered car. I'm still on the fence as to how many I can financially afford. I would absolutely love to get 2 4-car sets, but I don't think that's going to be possible. So I'll probably end up with 2 2-car sets, which might be enough for now. They're not currently offering Nscale elevated track like they are in HO scale. It is quite pricey based on just making a single oval in HO scale. So I probably personally will be passing on that. But if you do have a full layout set up and you're ready to go, would definitely recommend exploring that to see if that works for you. Here's those 4-car collector sets, 2 different schemes offered in that as that special powered and 3 unpowered cars options. But moving on here, they will be at the St. Louis Prototype Modelers Meet in July 24th and 26th, so check them out if you're there. Next up, some factory and shipping updates. Models there on the water. I'm excited for the GP40s. We took a look at them last week in a couple of shots. We have a couple down below as well. Got an IC and CN XIC version on the way. Very excited for that. That's a little sooner than I anticipated, so I need to move the budget around a little bit. But a bunch of other models also available. H1644s finally arrived, as well as the PA1s and PAB1s coming your way fairly soon. And on the water, the ballast hoppers, as well as the dome lounge passenger cars in HO scale. And we'll move quickly through these photos. We talked about most of them last week. First up, the pre-production sample of the CF7s. And some different versions side by side here. Nice top-down view. You can really catch the glare off of all of the separately applied metal pieces, etched metal grates, metal walkways. And here's the CP GP9U with a very nice light package. Saw that last week as well. Quick note, this model does have 2 bells on it just for tooling sample purposes. The real one will not have that. They did just get it in the office since last week as well. And the H1644s, the CN version, we saw last week as well. And then the GP40s, this is the as-delivered cotton belt scheme with the yellow handrails. I'm moving a little quick. As always, feel free to pause and take a look at them, or check out last week's video as well, where we took a nice deep dive into all those pictures. There's the Wisconsin Central version as well. Was on the fence about getting one of those. I'm jealous. I think I really want one. I don't think I can make it work right now, but it looks amazing. Here at the factory, the SD7, SD9, and SD10s waiting for their bodies. That's all the chassis is there. And then some of the SP Dome lounges on their way. That's the daylight scheme. As well as the C36-7s, all the Union Pacific versions here. And the Burlington Northern down below. And these are the Enterprise hoppers for Revere Sugar. And the Hawker vans are on their way as well. Got 2 of those on pre-order. Excited for those. And here's a quick recap of some of Jordan's adventures at the Bay Area Prototype Modelers Meet. First up, a 3D printed sample of the SP C-40-3 caboose. I think that's how you say that number scheme. Please let me know if that's incorrect, if it's C-40-3. There's a quick shot of the team at the meet as well. They also took a look at the Carquinez Model Railroad Society with their Southern Pacific Dome Lounge cars. There's the daylight scheme, as well as a nice station scene. They also teased that we took a look at 2 weeks ago, the SP PCNF Class 66-B-2 Economy Baggage and Mail Express cars. Quite a long name. That will be formally announced later this year. That was just a 3D printed sample that they had at that time. There's their BART train cars on the Golden State Model Railroad Museum's layout. More shots of their Dome Lounge cars, as well as Jordan taking the picture from earlier this newsletter. And some of the guys. And a quick update here from Jason. If you do know where Jason's Marks trains are anywhere in Canada, please let him know over on his Facebook page. Just want to shout it out here, help out the community as best we can. But if you do know anything, feel free and let him know. Help him out would be much appreciated. But that's all we have from Rapido for this week. Should be some cool new things coming also later in July that they have also teased. But we'll go ahead and move on now to CLRVs. And moving on over to ScaleTrains' newsletter, a couple Nscale models to start. First up, reminder their SD40-2s in stock. This Mount Rushmore scheme I do remember from their factory tour videos in HOScale, of course, at that time, with all of the pad printing details to make the Mount Rushmore scheme. Thought that was really cool, so that's always stuck around with me. So a little bit of history of the DM&E if you're interested, and a route map here, as well as some details there of the city name units, and some model details. Also an Nscale, limited stock of their AC4400 CWs. A couple of those schemes there. A little bit of history there. Also their Trinity RD4 gondolas in the Fox Valley Models tooling are also available for order. There's a list of all of those schemes and both of those. Reminder of some recently announced models, their Nscale Trinity 60-footers, the high cube boxcars that they have also announced in HOScale prior. There's some of those schemes as they shout out. Some of them have the conspicuity stripes. A little bit of details there with the FRA mandate. And some of the model features and road names and paint schemes here. The HOScale version should be arriving in August or so, so if you'd like to still pre-order those, they're still available. And along with those high cubes, they recently announced in Nscale AC44C6Ms, exactly the same announcement as HOScale, same road numbers, same bonnet details as well. There's a little bit of details on the Sonic bonnet itself, the unit I picked up in HOScale. And some of the details here for Nscale. They still have limited stock of the AC44C6Ms in HOScale. Checked earlier today when I was making this video. Still seems like most of them have over 24 in stock per ScaleTrains' website. Some of them are limited, so if you are considering on the fence, would definitely recommend taking a look and seeing if you can make that work. Here's some of the model details. Reminder, unfortunately the sound file is not quite right for this unit. It's more of a -9 compared to the rebuild C6M version. You can swap that out on ESU's website. And the pilots do sag a little bit on this unit, pretty much across the board. Some worse than others. Mine was just okay, so please let me know if you've had any worse experiences than what you saw in my review, if you did check that out. Speaking of those reviews, the Steam channel also did one if you'd like to check them out. They also announced silver-sided coal gondolas in the operator line with the additional upgraded details, same as HOScale. Quick reminder of those details. And also in Nscale, GP40s were recently announced as well, with those two bicentennial units for Western Pacific. Some history there on how those paint schemes came to be. And moving on to a new announcement in HOScale, a new run of ET44s. We'll pause here for a moment. Would like to chat a little bit about these because I'm very excited for this model in particular. And we've got a whole bunch of hypotypical schemes. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of them. I think it's great having more options in the market. As ScaleTrains has said before, it does help justify tooling. Athearn has said it as well. My personal opinion, nice to have that offering. If you don't like that scheme, you don't have to purchase it. There's a bunch of nice Class 1 railroads in this run that you'll be able to choose from. And again, just helps them offer them more often. Would love a couple of those Union Pacific schemes. I'm sure the Santa Fe War Bonnet will sell out. Burlington Northern, that is a 3-window BN scheme on a 2-window unit, which is I've seen a little bit of complaints about. The Rio Grande unit, I'm very excited for as well. Might grab one of those because I have one of the Intermountain ES44 ACs in that Fantasy Rio Grande scheme already. I don't have a decoder in that one, so I haven't reviewed it right now. but I would like to pair those up because I can have a full fantasy consist then. Those BNSF units are the first ACHs in the market, so that's a nice little detail there with the full traction motors on those models. I do like the headlight configuration on the rear of those, in their ET44s being high rather than in the center, like was on the 25th Heritage units. Those CPKC units as well were the ex-Baffinland units, which is a mine in the north of Canada. They did have those upgrades removed. They were originally GE demonstrator units, which I was considering buying as well. The solid blue paint schemes that ScaleTrains did a while ago. Saw some on Facebook, didn't end up picking them up myself, but that'd be a cool little homage to that because they are now on a Class 1 railroad running around. They are sublettered for CP. We will eventually see some of the brand new CPKC units. I love seeing the pictures out of Fort Worth, Texas of those brand new shiny locomotives. It's some of the first new units that CPKC as a company, both Canadian Pacific or Kansas City Southern, have purchased in quite a while. So it's very exciting to see just new units coming out. Love shiny paint. You can always debate on the paint scheme, of course. I think it's pretty neat. Love the ES44s from ScaleTrains as well. But enough talking here. Once again, very excited for this. I would love to purchase one of everything here in this run. Might have to cut down the budget quite a bit for that one. But pre-orders for this model are due at the end of the month on Monday, July 28th. Expected delivery this winter, so coming up pretty soon. It does say on the website June of 2026. So stay tuned for next week. Maybe we'll have an update there to clarify if it is this winter or in June of 2026. But I'll keep you updated. Either way, very excited for this model. We'll go ahead and move on now before I talk too much. Reminder of their summer road trip coming up. They do get a free gift bag. Here's the different locations as well. But if you're in the area, would definitely recommend stopping by any of these meets to go ahead and meet ScaleTrains, asking whatever questions you want as well. Quick reminder, they'll be at the National Train Show as well, July 19th and 20th. They will be announcing their next steam locomotive, which I believe might be a Berkshire that I've seen before. But please let me know in your comments your guesses. If it's not going to be a Berkshire, Lionel's got one coming at the end of this year, I believe, as well. We'll talk about a Bachmann one in a little bit as well. But there's a quick reminder of the show details if you're interested in checking that out as well. And a quick reminder of a billing update coming up, the next run of ES44s. I've got the City Rail now CN unit, the patched over unit on pre-order. Not sure if I'm going to go through with that right now, but just a heads up, those models are on their way. That is the next batch of CSX Heritage units as well. And we have the Thrall 2-hood coil steel cars coming in sometime in July as well. Nscale SD40T-2s also billing next week. Still very happy with my HO scale models as well. Bought 2 sets of those. A quick reminder of July 4th that already passed us, but we'll go ahead and move on to Walthers next. And moving on to Walthers' e-update for the past week, a model we talked about in their new product announcements about 2 weeks ago. Their new run of NSC 3-unit 53-foot well cars. These are full die-cast models in their mainline series, so pretty decent level of detail. This is typically what their sets of well cars come out in that line. Love the die-cast intermodal cars. That's what I'll be going for when I eventually build an intermodal train. Reminder, the Wabash Streamline cabooses also announced at the same time as those well cars from Proto in the Proto line. This is one of the models in the scheme, very appropriate for our July 4th celebrations the past week. And this model should be arriving in fall of 2025, available for pre-order. Another proto model, the 73-foot Budge baggage cars, are now in stock if you'd like to grab some. Bunch of Amtrak schemes here if you'd like to grab some in that livery. And speaking of Amtrak, if you'd like to grab the Amtrak station kit, that is now on sale. If you'd like to grab that from Walthers Cornerstone, pretty nice details, very modern station. And a quick reminder that the BLI coach baggage combines recently arrived. This is the Baltimore and Ohio scheme. The full sets of them are lagging behind about a week or so, so expect to see that at the end of the month at most retailers. And an Nscale quick reminder of some microtrains deliveries. Here's a bulkhead flat car if you'd like to grab them from Walthers as well. But that's all here from Walthers. We'll move on now to Athearn. And moving on to Athearn's newsletter. First up, the F45s in the Genesis line, just a pre-order reminder, these are available. They also have a couple hypotypical schemes there with the copper state and CP shown. We talked about all the details back in what was their March announcements that they released in June, so if you'd like to take a look at all of those, we talked about all of those there, or if you're just interested in some of those paint schemes. In the standard Athearn line, a new run of SD40-2s. I believe there still is a run of these still out for delivery, so this is a new run that's not going to deliver quite as fast, but there's some of those schemes. There's a pretty decent variety offered in this run. We got the BN whiteface scheme as well. And some models currently on their way, all in the standard Athearn line. First up, the 40-foot express boxcars. There's some of those paint schemes going by. Love that Rio Grande scheme. And the 4-bay offset hoppers. Seems like these only come in 4 packs on Athearn's website. There's a data-only car there at the very end. And the ACF combo door boxcars. These are 50-footers, also in the standard Athearn line. Pretty good detail, no cut levers, but we should do the part on your layout from a distance. In their Train Tuesday, talking about a couple models, the Genesis Trinity covered hoppers, a new run of those. I've got the old run that I recently took a look at as well if you're interested, and a couple other models, the ACF 2970s in both HO and Nscale. That's available on their YouTube channel if you'd like to check them out. They're currently looking into new models for 2026. If you'd like to submit a survey on their website and let them know your feedback. And hope everyone had a nice Independence Day. But that is all we have here from Athearn this week. We'll go ahead and move on over to Bachmann. And moving on over to Bachmann's newsletter. Like I teased earlier, talking about their Berkshires. These are DCC sound value models with Econami sound. It's a little bit of recap on the history of these models. The very popular ones including Pure Marquette 1225 and Nickel Plate Road 765, the ones currently in excursion service. There's some with the Milwaukee Road passenger cars. Love seeing those around. Here's the different versions that Bachmann is doing. A couple railfan versions as well. And some of the included features on these models. Quick reminder, they do also do cabooses. Here's a Nickel Plate Road bay window caboose if you'd like to pair that up with that Berkshire locomotive. And just some quick model updates. These are in Nscale, some of the Amtrak cars for Amtrak Midwest and Via Rail here. Some new shots that they shared off at the Nscale convention a couple weeks ago. If you'd like to check out those Venture cars, those are available for pre-order, I believe. New tooling here that they've also done in HO-Scale. But that's all here from Bachmann. We'll go ahead and finish off with Atlas today. And to finish us off, just a couple final notes from Atlas of some models in transit. Should be arriving July 15th week. Should arrive at your layouts probably the week after. Only model in HO scale here, the CNCF 5000 boxcars. Looks like they're still available for pre-order if you'd like to grab some of those while they're still on their way. And 2 models in O scale, since they're here, we'll just go ahead and talk about them. The Streamline passenger cars in their Premier line, as well as the GP38-2s in that very sharp Amtrak scheme. Love that scheme. Should be getting one of those from Bachmann coming soon as well. That's the only other HO scale manufacturer I've seen that from so far. But that's all I have in terms of newsletters and updates for the week. Returning once again to the ScaleTrains ET44 announcement page. These are all the units. Does say they're, once again, estimated delivery in June of 26. Newsletter said winter, so we'll see how that goes. Important to me because I definitely need to budget. If I really want everything I could dream of here, I want 10 units and at $305 retail each. That's a lot of money. So I don't think I'll be able to swing that quite yet, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe I could get some sort of sponsorship. We'll see if that happens. Hit me up. But anyways, would love to see these models. I've been stalking some of the Union Pacific units on Facebook before, and all these hypotypical schemes. Once again, good to just have the option if you'd like to grab some of them. It's cool with these fallen flag railroads. I know those Santa Fe war bonnets are going to go insanely quickly, so if you do want that one in particular, definitely pre-order. But I'm excited for those CPKC units. 4 of them come with the window in the front and 4 of them come without, so I'll probably get 2 with the window just because I like that little detail. ACHs want 2 of those as well, just like the more modern BNSF units. A pair of Union Pacific, pair of CSX, maybe that Rio Grande scheme as well. But again, lots of money, so definitely a good time to budget. Would be nice to have that extra 6 months or so to set that aside. But anyways, I've talked long enough. I do hope you enjoy that kind of style. But if you did make it this far, made it through my little spiel there, do me a favor and subscribe. Helps me to make a few dollars, so really appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed as well. Share it with a friend if you think it might be useful. And drop me a comment if you're as excited as I am about these ET44s. Maybe it's overhyped, but it's something I've wanted for a while. But thanks again for watching, and I do hope you have a great rest of your week.